Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is our draft prospect show, along with Logan Landers, our producer and engineer, our co-founder the founder and co-host, Vincent Turner, and Trey Sims is going to join us today also as a special guest to give some analysis on TreVeyon Henderson, the running back out of Ohio State University. And Vincent, I'll start with you. Here's a guy that what more could you ask for? He was one of that tandem there at Ohio State, wins a national championship. Everybody and their brother got to see how good he is, how good the offensive line is. Who wouldn't want to have TreVeyon Henderson be a part of their program? He's a great runner, a good receiver. We'll talk about some of the things in specific, but just give me a basic overview of TreVeyon Henderson in your eyes.
Explosive football player, to the tradition at Ohio State. Archie Griffin, Keith Byars, Chris Webbs. He's the next one in line to come out and prove that Ohio State has one of the best running back factories in all of college football history. And then when I think about TreVeyon Henderson, I put this comparison, Priest Holmes, when he was doing this thing at the University of Texas, and then when he went into the league with the Kansas City Chiefs. Back to you, Harp.
That's an interesting perspective. Hadn't thought about that with Priest, but great player. Well, let's look at some of the specifics. He's 5'10", 202 pounds. He's from Hopewell, Virginia. He was a five-star coming out of high school, highly recruited young player. In 2023, he had 926 yards. 2024 had over 1,000. He had 11 touchdowns, 3,761 yards during his time at Ohio State. Trey, one of the things that is of interest to me, and our show was delayed a couple seconds because I wanted to get the final numbers. This past season, TreVeyon Henderson had 144 carries. In retrospect, when you look back, Ashton Genty from Boise State, who's listed as the number one running back for obvious reasons, he's amazing. But he had 374. I think one of the great things that you're going to get out of TreVeyon Henderson is a guy that's a lot fresher, if you will, if I can use that word. He hasn't been used as much, but his numbers when he is used are off the chart. I think you're getting a great value with him.
300 carries is a lot. That's almost NFL numbers right there. So maybe he is ready for the NFL.
No, 374. He had 374. If you include the bowl games, he did have over 400. It's amazing how many carries that he had, and TreVeyon had less than half of that.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a stat. But as far as TreVeyon, I mean, yeah, I guess he could be fresher, which is funny because he might be really fresh because one of the things that they knock him for is that his durability, because he missed a lot of games his sophomore and junior year, but he did have a pretty full healthy season this last year. A lot of might have been splitting carries with Keyshawn Junkins, but even with him splitting carries, as you say, very productive, double digits in touchdowns. He's productive out the backfield. Team scored a touchdown there. Very explosive. Ran a 4.43 in the combine, so it's very fast. Yeah. Great. He's strong. He knows how he can take contact. I think he should work on a little bit more of his quicker, like what they say in the phone booth, quickness, short air quickness to make people miss. A little bit. Sometimes he lacks decision making or may try to bounce out because he is so fast outside the tackles instead of going one cut. But when he does make one cut speed and he does find a hole, it's bye. We'll see you later, because I've seen him break, like in my own eyes, a multitude of touchdowns for like 50, 60, 70, 80 yards. So very explosive, very talented.
Yeah, this recent 8 plays of over 50 yards. It's interesting to me. Some people value the fact that he breaks it to the outside and he'll find a big play, and others will kind of criticize him and say, no, the play was designed to go in between the tackles. You bounce it out a little bit too early. I don't know how you judge that, because you got to give the guy the freedom to go, I feel, I think, and I react a certain way. And you don't want him second guessing that. You want him to just punch through the hole, or at least plant that foot and go up the field. Where am I wrong in that analysis? And that, some people praise him and others will criticize him for breaking it to the outside.
I think you're only wrong if he gets tackled for a loss. Because if he takes it 80, you're not gonna say anything about it.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah, you should have done that the whole way. Touchdown, And yeah, I agree with you there. Real quick, Trey. Real quick. There's Ashton Genty is listed number 1 right now, and he's 5'8", 211. Just a fire hydrant build of a body. Marion Hampton out of the University of North Carolina. Now he's 6 feet, about 221. So he's more of a NFL size guy, a little bit bigger. The next guy, Caleb Johnson out of Iowa, also a 6-footer, a little bit heavier at 224 pounds, but that 4.43 speed that TreVeyon has, and he's 5'10", that speaks volumes in terms of a guy that can make that burst for you that every team needs to have.
For sure. You always want to have an explosive running back that at any time could take it to the house. It's always a threat. And that's exactly what TreVeyon is.
And Vincent, I would say that because of that speed and with the versatility of a lot of NFL offenses, you can take him from the backfield, go with an empty set, put him in a slot, and he's one-on-one with the linebacker. I'm giving him the ball, especially if he's going to run like a seam or a go route, somewhere where he can use that explosiveness. A lot of wheel routes to where he can get around somebody and get up the sideline. I think the versatility and his hand-eye coordination are going to be an asset wherever he goes.
Runs through contact, great speed, great strength. He's the total package coming out of Ohio State. And all I can say is I'm going to leave it with this thought here. He reminds me of the father-son duo that played in the league for a long time. There was a gentleman in the mid-'70s, Terry Metcalf, and his son that played with the Falcons followed him out of the University of Texas, Eric Metcalf. Both of them were similar players, explosive, and could take it to the house on any time, any moment of the game.
Yep.
All you got to do is go back to the Texas game. Semifinal playoffs, right before halftime, what did Mr. Henderson do? 75 yards to the house.
Bye-bye.
Ohio State Buckeyes.
Bye-bye. Yeah, Trey, that's an interesting concept also. I mean, the national championship and playing against some of the best teams and really shining in that environment. I'm surprised that he's still number 4, especially when the speed. I'm thinking somebody may reach up and go take him late in the first round or maybe a second rounder. I think quite obviously you're going to go get – there's such a plethora of defense this year. You're going to go get that one guy that you want, but you're certainly not going to hurt when you add him into your roster.
No, you won't, but because I think he's projected around like the 3rd round, so I could see him sneaking into the 2nd. But like that would be a steal if you could get him, especially if you get him the 3rd. Because like Unc said, he's everything you want. And again, he's young too. All these players are young. They're all like 22, 21. So they got time to be good right now and in the future. So
yeah, well, he is a senior, right? He played all 4 of his years at Ohio State. 38.5-inch vertical. So athletically, a lot of great things that you can say about him. 11 touchdowns his junior year, another 11 this year. And again, splitting time. He wasn't the guy. He had to split time. And again, I used that earlier in the show that he's going to be fresher, but his numbers would be drastically different if he were the only guy there. But Ohio State's roster is so deep that, hey, do you want to play 50% at Ohio State or do you want to play 100% at Illinois or at Colorado State? You know what I mean? There's a different way of looking at it. Ashton Genty was the featured player for Boise State. I'm not saying any of those are wrong, but, for him to be as selfless as he was on numerous occasions, his balance in traffic is absolutely outstanding. He maintains his forward progress. He likes to fall forward. He gets an extra yard every time he does that. He can set up his cutback blocks as well as anybody that's out there. He anticipates when a defensive back is going to fill and he'll cut back against the grain. He has excellent lateral quickness, and again, he likes to break it to the outside. But that's also one of the detriments against him is that sometimes he breaks it to the outside a little bit too much, and he doesn't trust what's going to happen and take advantage of his blockers. You mentioned the durability. He had a couple of injuries in 22 and 23, but he's bounced back from that. I don't think any of those are going to be a problem. Do you, Trey?
I think for his career, no, because like you said, he split carries, and I think that's kind of how the league is starting to shift. Unless you have like a dominant Saquon, Derrick Henry type back, you kind of want to split carries because like the Lions have done a very great job with that with Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery, and I know that Pittsburgh kind of does that, which is again. I don't know how I'd be throwing Pittsburgh into these conversations, but I actually want them to draft TreVeyon Henderson as well.
We're going to have an over-under for you and for Vincent both. We're going to have to do that. But, the Falcons have done the same thing, Algier and with Robinson. And there's nothing wrong with it. When they get along together, it's an amazing concept. And you have two fresh bodies, and it's who are you going to take, Thunder or Lightning or both in some cases. So I like the analogy. Vincent, give me your final thoughts here on TreVeyon Henderson, the running back out of Ohio State.
If I'm a GM and I need a running back that's the total package, reliable hands, a guy that's explosive, a guy that's definitely is going to be a threat on the offensive side of the ball, TreVeyon Henderson will be my man out of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Well, you got Devin Neal, Quinshon Junkins, you got Dylan Sampson that are other guys that are right there with him, but that 4.43 speed in the 40 certainly makes a difference. Final thoughts from you, Trey?
I agree with both of y'all. Couldn't be a better prospect. Has a total package. But I like, again, receiving backs along with being able to run and basically do whatever you want to, you can't go wrong with them.
Yeah, I think there's a triple threat, right? A runner, a guy that can pass protect, and that's another thing that he does very well as a guy that can line up in the slot and really enhance your empty backfield offensive strategy. He's one of the guys that could do that. Check, check, check. So TreVeyon Henderson out of Ohio State is the draft prospect that we want to feature right here and right now, and I don't see how anybody can go wrong with him, whether it be on day 2 or possibly a day 3 selection. He's going to enhance your team. So for Vincent Turner, for Trey Sims, I'm Harper LeBel. We want to say thank you to Logan Landers for producing and engineering the show for us. We appreciate you being a part of the show. Draft prospects through 100 yards of football. We hope you have a fantastic day, everybody.